So, is this on? And to tell you more about Courtney, so she's the vice. She's based in Austin, so she's here year round. She's not just in for the music and the tech and the fun times. So thank you for being here. Sarah Davis, the founder, president, and chief creative of FASHIONPHILE. Another shout out. And Sarah is incredible, and she was gracious enough to invite me to moderate this. So I'm so happy to be here once again. Thank you, Sarah. We have Tirath Kamdar, and he is the general manager of luxury at eBay, and he is in a very important position here. And the reason this matters so much is because we're seeing more and more resale luxury convergence. Obviously, you know eBay. It's been around a long time. Let's give it a clap if you know eBay. I'm sure you've sold something, you've seen something. Again, we have such an incredible set of people here, so thank you for being here. And then we have Jackie Rogers Borker. She is the Senior Director of Resale as a Service, RaaS. It's kind of like software as a service, which I'm sure we have some tech people in the room. Great, thank you for that. So Jackie, pleasure to have you. ThredUp is doing some incredible things as well, and we'll talk more about that. And then lastly, we have Tom Woodger on the end here. Tom is the Vice President of Cultural Marketing, and you'll see him at arranging a lot of the material behind StockX. And StockX is also a very important player in the resale sector. Again, we have everyone here. It's very exciting to be here, and we're super excited to have you. So thank you for that. Again, we have such a lively crowd, so this is going to be a lot of fun. So, you know what I did? I actually shuffled all my cards, so they're all in the wrong order. So we'll just kind of jump in. But I think the important part to kick off with is that resale is fundamentally changing fashion. It wasn't always like this. I mean, yes, resale was always around, but we didn't have these platforms. We didn't have these, augmented services to make authentication so quick and fast. Obviously, behind me, you'll see the real or fake demo. So this is just a little play on authentication, just one part of resale. So there's so much happening. So I'd love to start with the question of, what is the state of resale fashion today? And whoever wants to kick it off, please take it right away.
I'm happy to go and give a little tidbit, and then the rest of the experts can fill in. I think what's really exciting about resale, and we were just talking about this before, is that it's shaping retail, hence the name of this panel. So that's not my geniusness coming up with it. But I think what's really exciting is I joined StockX 4 years ago, and resale in the sneaker and apparel space was, like, I'll just call it out, it was like dirty. People were saying that resale was dirty, it was gray, products were not authenticated, people were getting fakes, and now the validation is that it's now shaping the way that luxury houses, other brands are coming to market. As we'll get into some questions later, you look at companies now like Mr. Porter, who now have a resale of their own, right? And so I think it's just really exciting to see that what consumers want is now very much at the forefront of the way that fashion is moving. And so I think for all of us, that's incredibly exciting. So I'll hand it over to whoever else something to say.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, just to speak to that, we really see that younger generation right now driving, and they're more likely to buy pre-owned than new, right? And that wasn't like that a couple decades ago. At the same time, you have the sustainability angle, right? People want to do good for the environment, good for the world. Why not buy all these items that are millions and millions of items that are just sitting out there and getting recycled over and over again, versus a primary new item? And we're now starting to see, finally, like as Tom mentioned, the brands getting involved, different retailers getting involved, and still trying to figure out how they're actually going to do that. Like at eBay, for example, in 2021, we actually saw our pre-loved or pre-owned market grow faster than new, and first time ever overtake the new inventory we're starting to see. So we are seeing that trend. We're also seeing in our data.
And I would also say for the real, what we saw last year, not just the young generation, we saw every generation grow in using our platform. And I think that's a really exciting place, because it wasn't just online, it was also in our brick and mortar stores. And what makes us unique, all of us unique, is our authentication processes. We're really big on what is authentic. We're keeping counterfeits off the market, but we're also reselling goods for betterment of the planet. And I think that's what's exciting about this whole movement, all of us coming together today.
Yeah, I do too. I think the other thing I love about what we're all doing is when you talk, there's there's a lot of people, you talk about fast fashion, how bad it is for the planet. But the reality is the problem with fast fashion is how we treat it like garbage. The quality of the products actually, you look at things that were made 15, 20, 25 years ago, arguably, there's some jackets you can from Zara that they're not made horribly. It's just we treat them like garbage. And so what I love is like the other two ignored corners of the recycle triangle, which is reduce and reuse. Buy less, buy more quality items, pay a little more for it, but hold it longer, reuse those items, share them, and we're all participating in one way or the other in this shared economy, allowing other people to use things that are just sitting on your closet. So it's amazing.
And then the thrifting element, because I noticed you said pre-loved, and there's a lot of ways that we refer to secondhand garments. And to jump into ThredUp, if we could.
Yeah, I was just going to say, building on all of your points, I think it's Gen Z obviously driving a lot of the initial interest, but in the last couple of years, it's millennials, but it's also even Gen X. It's Gen Z's parents who are now getting in the mix and getting really excited about resale. And so at ThredUp, we're really trying to just grow the overall pie. And it's not just the Gen Z focused brands, it's really brands across the board who we would love to encourage to get more into resale.
And since we talked a lot about, generational divide and differences with thrifting, with pre-loved, with everything like that, I'm curious, I guess, maybe if we could pivot to maybe what's happening culturally, like why is this being demanded, and what is it? Is it just sustainability? Is it to look unique? Like, what are some of those factors, if we could call out and do like a rapid fire round of like maybe one or two qualities that are really driving this?
I mean, I think what we're seeing certainly with the younger audiences, and this is on StockX, is they want a way to show who they are, right? And they want to have things that are unique. And so we see on StockX, obviously on StockX, but people are looking for those incredibly hard to find, to identify who they are as unique. And so you can see those kind of cultural trends coming to the forefront, particularly in things like where these influences come from, right? It's the economy, it's music, it's art. So you look at artists like Billie Eilish, etc., who is just unapologetically who she is, encouraging these younger consumers to be who they want to be, right? And so I think that, for me, in my role in culture, is particularly important, and that helps us think about what's coming next too, and how can we also serve those consumers with things. Sorry, there was a bug. Serve those consumers with things that are really relevant to them and can kind of help tell the story of who they are, and that's through those products as well.
40% of our consigners, our customers, are saying that they're shopping with us for the sustainability, for sure. The other effort, though, is about the thrill of the hunt. And that, especially in our store experiences, when you're going in and you're like, everything in here is one unique item. So I'm going to take my time. I'm going to definitely style myself out. I'm going to look hip and cool, but I'm also doing what's right for the planet and for items that are going to last for a long time. And I think that's what's happening as well.
Just building on that point, it's fun, right? When you're buying resale, there's fresh inventory every day, which is really different from a lot of other brands that might only, upload new inventory once a week or once a month. And so the fun factor of finding those hidden gems is really a driving factor as well.
Completely agree with that. Like, it's exactly as you noted, Courtney, the treasure hunt is so important. And it's just on eBay, you have millions of products. It is like a treasure hunt. You never know what you're going to find next. But what we are finding, especially a big movement over the last couple of years, is that the responsibility and transparency around that has gotten very critical. And people care about that, right? And we've taken a serious position on that by launching authenticity guarantees, starting with watches, where all watches over $2,000 or more are verified and checked by experts before they reach the hands of the end consumer. We rolled the same thing to sneakers, rolled the same thing to handbags, and I've made a scalable value proposition that's now starting to scale into our UK and German markets. And so we are taking the responsibility and ownability of that very, very seriously, and then scaling that to deliver on that trend.
Yeah, it's interesting because I brought my son. He's back there in the yellow Nike shirt. Wave to everyone. He's 18 years old. He's leaving me because he's a senior in high school, right? So I'm sad. So I'm like, come to Austin with me. I haven't seen him all morning because he was at Goodwill and Buffalo Exchange. I think he brought that hoodie. I couldn't even find him. I'm like, spend time with me, but he's off on the scooters around to all the thrift stores. I used to shop thrift stores because I had no money because my parents didn't give me any money for school clothes. And so I'm shopping the bins because I couldn't afford anything else. My son shops the bins because that's what all the cool kids want to, where they want to go. And he shops from actually all of these sites too. This is like a new way of thinking, and part of it is obviously sustainability. They care genuinely, like you said. There's huge percentages. 2007, we did a study at FASHIONPHILE. We had a cute tagline, which was FASHIONPHILE, saving the earth one fabulous bag at a time. And we did this little survey, and we found out that actually nobody cared. Nobody cared about saving the earth with your handbag. And I was like, okay, that is not true anymore. That was true in 2007. That wasn't the people in 2007 were looking for a deal for a Chanel bag. They didn't care about the planet. And now actually people are shopping and selling with us because they do care, the younger generation as well. But it's not just that. It's what you said. It's like the thrill of the hunt, and I don't spend as much time at Goodwill and Buffalo Exchange as I used to, but I spend time in all of these sites, every one of these sites. Everything I'm wearing, this isn't a costume. It's from the pants, the jeans are redone Levi's from ThredUp. The shirt is from eBay. Like these are all, I'm a very important thrifter, VIT from ThredUp. Not because I'm trying to investigate the competition, because I actually love all of them and celebrate. And that's why I think it's so awesome about this group, is that we're all trying to solve this problem of resale in a different way and kind of with our own unique aspects. And each person is kind of bringing a different tilt to the story.
I absolutely love the angle you took with this, because I think we all have some, authentic relationship with this. And I think knowing how fashion works and just different kind of more linear industry, but then resale, circular, you're all friends. You're all, you all collaborate. It's like no secret. Again, I love that you called out that you got that from ThredUp. And I think it's the same, like, this jacket is thrifted. And then my shoes are somehow I've thrifted these, I don't know, Jimmy Choo's, but whatever. I found them. So I think we all have and I'm sure a lot of you here thrift, and it's, or however you want to call it. It's such an exciting way to shop, and it makes it more meaningful. And it's like, it has a soul to it. So I love if we could take that angle you introduced and talk about, I guess, you are innovators, you are solving problems. I guess, what are some of the challenges therein when you're working in this way?
I'm happy to get us started on that one. I mean, I think, one of the hardest things with resale is that every single item is unique, right? And so traditional retail supply chains are built in ways such that you've got massive boxes of the same SKU and everything is optimized around scale. But when you're working with single SKUs, it can be really, really difficult to manage the whole operation in a cost-effective way. And so that's one of the things that ThredUp has really prioritized, is that investment in the infrastructure behind the scenes so that it's affordable to everyone to actually do resale in a way that is sustainable and can scale going forward.
And also knowing, I know that, FashionPhile is also opening up a new authentication facility. There's a lot of new jobs that are being introduced, and there's building that scale. So anyone else want to jump in on that thread of bringing resale even further to the masses?
Yeah, I can definitely jump in on that. In the last year or so, at The Real, where we've opened 10 new stores last year, and 11, we have opened our 11th in January. And as we start thinking about bringing resale to the masses, we wanted to create this omni-channel experience that you can also feel, you can see it online at any convenient time of day, right? You go on your app, you're watching TV, you're shopping. I'm obsessed. I know a lot of people who just scroll all the time with all the new units, but then you can come into our stores and you can feel it. And you can meet the teams, and you can walk into a store and you're like, wow, this is resale. This is all pre-loved items that are being sold, and what an experience. And in our stores, you can consign, you can drop off easily. You can meet with one of our valuation managers. A couple of them are here today, so I'm very excited. But they authenticate our items. Every one of our 23 million items that we have sold have all been authenticated through our valuation managers, not to mention our AI as well. And I think the other thing that we have is we also meet our resale specialists. And our resale specialists will take time and educate on consignment, because there is a lot of education, there's a lot of curiosity. So as we think about this experience of scale, that's what we've done, is used brick and mortar to do that.
It's really interesting. I think a big challenge out there is consumer behavior and their changing needs are moving faster than ever, right? And how do you keep up with that? How do you respond to that? And Looking at eBay, we have changed. This is a new eBay, right? This is not the same eBay when it was 2 years ago. Especially, I joined a couple of years ago. A whole new team. We are first time ever. We're focusing on dedicated end-to-end experiences for verticals, for handbags, full-fledged end-to-end team that's been built out. Same thing with watches. We're doing the same thing for jewelry. And that's because we need to understand those consumer taste experiences and scale for them. And authentication and building our facilities from the ground up, as well as the key partnerships we've done. For example, we partner with SneakerCon and sneakers, and we've actually purchased SneakerCon. And we've now scaled to about processing over 2 million products across sneakers, trading cards, watches, and handbags over the last 1.5 to 2 years. We expect to hit 5 million in the next year or two. And so scalability is very critical as you actually grow, but also how do you innovate? How do you keep launching new services? We've announced we are actually launching a 31,000 square foot vault facility where we are going to hold goods for the first time, people's collections, physical, so you can trade them. And then we're going to roll that out in luxury right after trading cards and collectibles. So we've now set up a scalable system both internally and externally to be able to scale primarily to respond to consumer behavior.
I want to pause on that because luxury is a huge component of this. And in any capacity, you're all participating in that. So we could go in and we could really pick this apart. So we're seeing brands enter into resale in their own way. We're also seeing partnerships, whether it be resale as a service, whether we're seeing obviously the RealReal, we're seeing FASHIONPHILE, like this exact example of how you're partnering. So let's talk about luxury. Let's talk about how what happens when a brand enters in their own way. Is that a threat, or how do you see that signal to the market?
I see it as a positive. I think the more that we have brands entering the resale space, the more education, the more educated the consumer becomes, and then the more widespread and we normalize consignment and resale. And I think that's an exciting place to be. So I don't see it as a threat. I think we welcome that and would love more, honestly.
I couldn't agree more. We want more brands, luxury or not, entering the resale space and standing behind their products as things that they want to resell. There's data that suggests that many consumers are more inclined to now buy that brand because they see that they're selling resale alongside new, because it tells them, oh, that really awesome leather jacket has resale value. Or that signals that the quality of the product is enduring if it lasts across multiple owners. And so we think it's really exciting. We really want more brands to be entering that space.
I completely agree. I think the one concern that we talk about a lot, not for StockX, but just in general, is for all of us, it's around access, right? Like every consumer, we just want to be able to offer them a product that they like at a price that's fair. And I think a lot of what we've seen, not every brand, but certain brands are trying to own end-to-end the ecosystem of the primary and then the resale of those products. And I think that's kind of the antithesis of resale. It's not inclusionary. And so we always try to be involved in a conversation around participation within that, because the value prop for us, as well as everybody that's here, is you want to put a product in front of somebody and they love that item and they can get it, like I said, for a fair price, etc. So I think it's really around many brands that I will not name appreciating that the resale ecosystem is a thing. It was here before those brands checked the box and said that they were doing it too, and understanding that there's players in the space that can also add value as well, because the customers are here and they've been here for many years.
Yeah, and I think the kind of brands kind of love to hate us a little bit, because you can't tell me that the fact that you're flipping like $90 dunks on StockX for like 5-10 times plus. You can't tell me that Nike isn't loving that, and that's not good for their brand and their sales. Like,
I'm not going to talk about that.
You should be, you should accept their thanks and really they should be grateful, honestly. And I feel like that's the same thing with everything we're doing. The ability that you have to be able to resell these things that you've spent good money on, they're investments that you've made, whatever the brand that it is, whether, it's a brand that is a luxury brand or just a brand with high brand value, because you wouldn't call Nike like a luxury brand, and yet high brand value and resale value to the point where it is a true luxury. And so there's just this really delicate balance where it's like they want to control the supply, and they're so careful about their distribution and their brand and authentication, and yet your ability to sell that item for what you, as much as you can, sometimes even more than retail, just gives you more power to be able to buy more from that brand on the resale, and also does matter more for their brand. So I think that they're just in a really tricky situation. I think they're not stupid. They recognize, you know who should worry? Brands that don't have good resale value, brands you don't see at the Real or FASHIONPHILE that aren't doing good. Those are the brands that should be worried, because that says something about their brand value.
No, and that is really important. Good call. I agree with you on brand equity, right? Brands are losing control of their secondhand markets, right? You have consumers that are reselling over and over again. Brands are not playing a major role with them. And as a result, they're not able to build that loyalty ecosystem. And you have things like Rolexes you can barely get right now on any sports model, and they're selling for 3 to 4 times in any secondhand resale market. Same thing with the price increases that have happened recently with Chanel, Gucci, and brands like Louis Vuitton. So brands need to, I think, get more involved, and I'm glad they're starting to take steps. But the question is, are they going to take more steps? Are they going to go in all the way, or are they just going to go in halfway? And let's see. I think they really need to start managing the customer experience and brand equity end to end.
A question off of that, is there a point where things become too managed? I know that obviously we have a lot of managed marketplaces here, and there's also peer-to-peer communities. People are going to find ways, whether it be your neighbor down the street, it's like, oh, I'm going to sell them my shoes or whatever. What are your thoughts on that, about the control?
I mean, I will say, if people say to me all the time, hey, I could get more money if I sell this myself on eBay, and I'm like, do it. If you want to do it. Honestly, that you're going to get more money if you sell it on an eBay or a Poshmark or whatever. You're going to, in theory, you'll get more money. The reality is there's a lot of people just stuff sitting in their closets, and they just don't want to deal with it. They just want to get rid of it. And the thing I appreciate that everybody here at this table is doing is we talked about the operational challenges. I mean, the fact that every single item that StockX is authenticating every single item, that's a huge, we're all doing resale, something that's been done for hundreds of years, but we've added this scale and this operations. How many items are you getting a day at ThreadUp? 100,000 plus?
100,000 plus.
I mean, mind blow, and really just managing. When you talk about now, my son actually bought a pair of sneakers on eBay that he bought and was rejected because your authenticator said they weren't real. And thank you for that, because there's a day that no, I'm just saying that it was rejected. I appreciate that you're saying you want to provide a platform that allows everybody to sell, but you're not going to let scammers and counterfeiters on your site, which I appreciate. That wasn't how it used to be, and just looking at, again, like basically being able to sell everything in the house, that RealReal is just covering all of that, the operational challenge that is to be able to authenticate all those items, and that you've been able to find a way to be able to do that and serve that category. So I really just appreciate, again, that the ability that everybody's done to help you to sell your item however you want to do that. You want to list it yourself? Great. You want to, consign it? Perfect. Whatever.
I've been build on your point
Absolutely.
Quickly. One of the things that I love that you said is that people just want to clean out their closet. Right. So the peer-to-peer marketplaces, or the ability to just list your own item on, any of these marketplaces, wonderful, but it is a lot of effort. So I think it ultimately comes down to where the person who's selling their product wants to spend their time. And do you want to do it in bulk? Do you want to do it onesie, twosie? There are a lot of ways to do it. They're all great, but it's going to really come down to the consumer preference.
Yep.
As we're talking about this, I'm having like flashbacks to when I tried to sell clothes at Buffalo Exchange, and they gave me like $2. I said, I can't even afford a coffee with this, but I will take my things. So, we all understand that. We know this. We're in this business. We talked a lot about logistics. Let's talk more about, the behind the scenes. What's going on there? How does that also play into sustainability, right? Like if you send something and it's rejected, like your son's shoes, sorry to stay on it, but it's true. It's like when that happens, you have to ship it back. That's carbon footprint. I'm wondering if we could talk more about that. I know that there's some players that have more of a footprint on that, but I'm curious, like what happens, and is that something we're still kind of working on?
Absolutely. Look, when something like that happens, it's really important that we and eBay, what we're doing is we're figuring out exactly why, and then we want to remove counterfeits in the market. All of us want to remove counterfeits in the market. Like all these companies around this table are fighting counterfeits. Less counterfeits in the market are going to create more of a sustainable environment, because these counterfeits are also being produced potentially in non-carbon friendly ways, right? And for eBay, we have created a sustainable business. As of 2020, we were carbon neutral, and we expect by about in the next several years, we'll have 90% less reductions in our emissions as well. So we're heavily focused on that. Removing counterfeits is a huge part of that. And the processes and the systems we're putting into place are a huge part of that.
I think one of the important efforts for us is around bulk shipping. Ultimately, I think, we talked before about managed marketplaces and everything that people sell on StockX. In the early days, it was you sold one, you ship one. And now with bulk shipping, obviously, you then have the efficiency of the cost comes down based on the fact that you can ship. Some of these sellers are selling thousands of units every single week. And back in the day, before it was really managed, they were one by one, right? And so now there's these bulk shipping initiatives, as well as our authentication tags, which go on every shoe, which will be sustainable. And so all sorts of efforts that are incredibly important to us as a business, but then also how do we then go even deeper around sustainability because it's so important for our consumer. So we are by no means perfect. And I think that's probably the case for everybody here, but it's something that's really important at the core of the business and something we have to solve. And I think the counterfeits, like you mentioned, are obviously very important to eradicate entirely.
Yeah.
A little bit different take, not so much around the supply chain, but also about the individual consigner. And we have our carbon foot or water. How much water have you saved by consigning with us? And every consigner can say how much you've consigned and how much water you're saving. And I think by taking it to the individual to say, here's how you're impacting, this is how it's changing the world. And this is how it's changing we have a billion, I think, billion gallons, liters, I think, that is actually water has been saved. And I think that that's important. Those are important places to take it back to the individual so that it can continue to flourish.
And to the individual, but also to the local community. I feel like in every, whether it be, a drop off or something like that, or a store, a physical footprint, we're seeing how you're really integrating into the neighborhood and what that looks like, and then also facilitating, local exchanges. What does that look like? So I think let's talk more about, I guess, the role of brick and mortar and, how it's shaping your strategy, your vision.
I can take that. I think as we go into the community, so how we look at our brick and mortar strategy, we start with where our consigners are. And we're lucky to be a digitally native company with a lot of data. And so by looking where our consigners and our buyers are and the more the dense the market is, that's where we're putting our store. We have 19 total locations, 5 flagships, 3 consignment office, and 11 neighborhood stores locally here, Northside Domain. And I think as we look at that as the community, we also build each store is built out to meet the community where they are. We offer several services. And I think that's what's important about resale stores is it's not just a store. A typical store, you walk in, you buy something and you leave. In our stores, you have multi-dimensional ways of shopping. So you can sign, you can drop off, you can go through a valuation appointment, you can repair in our stores, and you can also shop. And you can also shop online. So you can spend quite a bit of time in our stores, and through our educated staff as well, they're there to support and help everyone walking in. You'd be surprised about how many, the walk-in traffic is really what has surprised us so far. 30% of our new consigners came through our brick and mortar stores last year. That's a pretty significant amount. And that was most of it by walking in. Hey, what are you? What do you do here? I'm curious about your model. I've never heard of you before. And then now we have loyal customers and consigners, and then they're telling their friends and they're bringing more in. So it's almost like marketing for us, experience for us, but also sustainability. And I think that's what's so critical about a brick and mortar strategy for our model.
Yeah, I agree. I love your stores, by the way. I've told you that before. And I loved the ThredUp store that was in Walnut Creek, but I don't think that there's been pop-ups and things like that. But we opened our first store in 2007, and our strategy has been a little bit different. We have what we call selling studios. We actually have some lovely pop-ups in the neighborhood goods stores, 4 neighborhood goods stores, which is very exciting. But we are in, we have these selling studios we've had since 2007, where you come in, you walk in with your item, and you walk out with a check. But what's been really exciting, we were a bootstrap company for 20 years, and then in 2019, we partnered. Neiman Marcus was our first investor, has been a really a really thrilling relationship for us, because you can really see the full circle of circularity in that you can bring in the Gucci backpack that you bought, you thought it was a good idea and never really wore, drop it off on the counter, You can go shop shoes or have lunch in the cafe. You get a text saying that you got $1,000 check waiting for you, or you can put that on a Neiman Marcus gift card, and now you have $1,100 burning a hole in your pocket in Neiman Marcus, and then you can buy those boots for free. Maybe you get money back. So it is a very, very elegant kind of solution. So we're in 10 Neiman Marcus stores right now, which is really exciting. But we find exactly what you're saying is that the brick and mortar, especially for the supply side, it's like, how do you want to sell to us? If you want to sell and you just want to put on eBay, like, yeah, that's great. Like, you should do that. If you can do that, you should do it. You're going to get most of your money that way. But if you don't want to do that, if you don't even want to download our app, or if you don't want to sit in your closet and take pictures, and I get that, come into one of our stores, just drop it off. We'll do the work for you. And we try to like do it your way. And I feel like there's a lot of sellers out there who just don't want to be bothered with that part of it. And our head of UX actually one time was like, if you really care about user experience, you need to know that some people are never going to use that app. And especially potentially some of our older users, that they're just never going to download the app and sit in their closet and take the photos. It's never going to happen. So how can you make the experience one they can use too? So
I think I'll just add on. Our initiative came from, similar to you, our marketplace thrives on supply, right? The sellers. And so it came from, ultimately, it was just a pilot. We were looking at, in New York at the time, there were a lot of stores downtown that had a significant supply of product that were then showing up on StockX. And so we knew that there were a significant number of sellers that were located around that. And obviously, as everybody here knows sneaker and streetwear culture, they're lining up around the block. They've spent a material amount of money on that product. And prior to us having these drop-offs, you would ship it all to StockX to be authenticated. And then you are paid out when it's been authenticated, because then you know the product is real. But they're waiting 5 days. They could be out thousands and thousands of dollars. And so this pilot was initially just to try that, where we would have a location, they'd come and drop it off. They'd already have sold it. We would authenticate it on the spot and then pay them out immediately. That pilot then turned into a permanent location on Lafayette and Soho in New York, Hong Kong, Tokyo, a permanent location in London, pop-ups all over the world that really were around efficiency and ease for sellers. But what it's then turned into, which you were touching on, is a customer experience. They're coming in to sell and they're like, what are you guys selling in here? What can I buy in here? Like, nothing, but would you buy something? And so it then becomes much more of a customer experience. And so now what it's become is a curation of products that are also available on StockX, are available in these physical locations. There's also now exclusives that are only available in those locations. And so it's become much more of a brand experience that was ultimately born out of a little test and learn. And that was super exciting. And it's been really well received by the seller community too.
I think what's exciting by that is eBay doesn't really have an offline presence, right? What we do is we believe we are stores for many. We have a lot of retailers, especially during the pandemic time. More retailers came on eBay because digital was the way to reach that consumer. Offline was just closed. And we have supported many companies that have become big companies actually currently. And that's what eBay, FASHIONPHILE being one of them. I know Sarah's story where she started on eBay as a seller, and look where you are today. 7 years, right? We'll get you back one day. But no, there's just so many great businesses around this country and the world that actually sell on eBay, thrive on eBay. Their livelihoods are made because of eBay, and they have storefronts. And what we do offline is we do a lot of these pop-up events, right? We did something we call Authentication Nation, then Authentication Station in LA, where we had our sellers present. It was like a drive-in. You can drive through, get your sneakers authenticated, check, and if you wanted to, you can instantly sell it to our sellers, right? Because our sellers on the platform are the ones that tend to buy instantly right back from the consumers, right? We have big sellers like Watchbox, which is one of the largest watch companies in the country, and they're big on eBay, and they're buying watches from the consumers all the time, as an example. So we want to help support that ecosystem thrive on eBay and help support our sellers figure out how to get a lot more inventory through consumers and do it in a sustainable way.
Yeah, our little mom and pop consignment shop that's right around the corner from our house, they would not be able to put up a website. They would get no eyes on the site. It would be very hard for them to digital market, but they're on eBay and that's their marketing tool. Right. And so I love that you're providing thousands of consignment shops out there that are, local consignment shops, and giving them really all the eyes in the world that otherwise they would have our local, little community, which we try to support, but
do both.
And also all kinds of resources, educating on how to sell online. I made the mistake of trying to generate a passive income with printables and calendars, and I sold one to my parents. And so I think it's important to also the resources that you have as these incredible companies that helping people. I know that we're getting short on time, so we're going to kick into the Q&A. So feel free to ask some questions. If not, I'll launch into my planned question. So I think, what ground has resale yet to cover? I think, this is about the future. So what else are we looking at here?
I mean, I think that what you're doing with RaaS is huge, because I'm going to predict right now, 5 years, there's no brand who's not participating in resale. And I will say this right now, there's no brand. So many brands are dealing with ThreadUp is helping, with probably most of the brand collaborations. Trove, obviously, some, you've got some, we've got some, you're dealing with brands. But I don't know of a single brand actually who's really taking and doing all of the work of authentication and the actual reselling these products, cleaning and all the dirty work of resale that we do all the time. So I think it's going to be really interesting in the next 5 years to see all of the brands pile in. They all will. I mean, there might be 2 that we could probably know that may be still holding on because whatever. But anyway, we'll get into that later. Different story.
That's my dream. That every brand that we all know has, you go to their e-commerce site and they're going to have a tab that says pre-loved or second love or whatever you want to brand it, right? But something that indicates that they're also owning and selling those resale goods. I think the second thing I would add though is that in 5 years' time, I want it to be bigger than it is, right? Like not just selling 100 items, 200 items on your resale shop, but really selling a meaningful volume of resale, such that it can have the impact that I think we all want it to.
Yeah, I think about the consumer behavior. I think the consumer behavior is going to become more harmonious with resale and mainline. And I think that it'll become fluid, not just generational, and more will participate with ease. And that would be my hope for the total market and how we'll grow it.
I think what's interesting is the technological innovation happening, right? And how that's going to affect how people resell any item they buy, whether it's from a store, whether our platforms, anywhere. You look at the innovations around blockchain technology as an example, right? We're still getting better and better on computer vision to be able to mint the watch I'm wearing and be able to not, and rather than have a physical card that comes with it and be able to just scan it and resell it, no, you were able to track it right back. And I believe that innovation will happen in the next 5 to 10 years, and believe like the major brands and everyone will become a part of that. And it will make folks to not only build a sustainable environment even a lot more easier, but resell easy, trade in, trade up easy, and being able to get that whole flywheel going at a much more easier. And I believe that is what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years.
I think nothing super meaningful to add apart from I think we often talk about the early adopter consumer, and I think obviously there's even before that that's like the catalyst consumer who was picking this up first. And I think the exciting thing for all of our businesses is as it just becomes more attainable to the wider consumers and to the mass. And so I think that's what's really exciting is all of these brands come online, take a stance. Some of them will make mistakes. Some of them won't. We'll integrate with them. Some of them won't. But all that will do is bring further awareness to it and grow, like you said, the pie for everybody involved. And so I think that's what's the most exciting thing certainly for us at StockX.
Wow. Thank you for that. Any questions? Great. Oh, we have so many. Okay. So what I'll do is maybe we can have you come up and I'll give you the microphone. If you're not comfortable with that, just let me know. Cool. And maybe say your name and, where you're from.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Newman Parker. I'm from Austin, Texas. I'm actually native, so street credit there for all you Californians in the room. I know you've relocated. Welcome.
That would be me.
Yeah. So I had to write this down because I have ADHD. Recently, luxury houses like Chanel and Louis Vuitton have done price increases, making their product more unattainable for the everyday customer. I've heard a lot of statements in the media from brands like Hermes and Chanel that this is kind of their goal, is to make it more like bring back luxury to luxury and have it be for like the higher class, etc. So my question for you guys is, how do you anticipate this will change the retail landscape in years to come, with resale becoming more and more popular? And now that these luxury brands are making their product more unattainable, how do you anticipate that will change the actual retail landscape with more and more people coming to the resale market?
I mean, the thing that I love about resale is you literally can buy you can buy a Coach, a Kate Spade, a Michael Kors bag a Chanel, an Hermes, or a Louis Vuitton for the price of an accessible brand. You literally on FashionPhile, on the RealReal, on eBay, even on ThredUp, you can literally search for under $500 these brands. And if you buy a vintage brand that's been carried for a bit and but you care about authenticity, you can buy actually an accessibly priced, more accessible, again, it's all relative, but priced item. And that's not going to change. Again, prices are kind of going up over time, but you can buy a double flap, a Chanel double flap. That price is going up like crazy. But if you buy it a little more used and a little more vintage and the quilting is a little more settled, but you don't care, you can still get that for half off, less than half off retail. Resale makes it accessible. That's what I love, is that something that they can try to make it unattainable. You can't walk in an Hermes store and walk out with a Birkin. You can walk into a RealReal store and walk out with a Birkin. You can walk here. You can, and so we're making it accessible to more people, and not just in making it available higher than retail, but actually making it available at an accessible price point that really is accessible to most people if you care.
I think for us, what's interesting, and I'm making this up on the spot, so don't think that this is some profound answer, but I think what's interesting about that is on StockX, there's a large portion of the community that are selling to make money. They go and buy those things because they know there's going to be a premium on the retail. It'll get to a point where it's not a money-making opportunity for those people because people don't want to pay that even heightened price. And so I'm interested, honestly, as much as you are, I'm interested to see what happens. It's going to depend on the quantity that they make and the supply. They're going to have to get that right. Otherwise, those bags will be sitting, which obviously they don't want. I think the thing that's compelling for us, and obviously I'm here to pitch StockX, but the market dictates the price. So sure, it could be $10,000 when it launches at retail and all of them get bought. But if the demand is not there, the price then starts to go down. And as you mentioned that brand before that I will not mention, they all look at those prices. They're incredibly important to them. It's internal marketing tools that they use for supply distribution, etc. And so I think they have to get it right. Otherwise, their brand value and that item value will decrease. And right or wrong on StockX, that's something that's very clear and transparent, and the market dictates that, nobody else.
I mean, that brand that will not be named is looking at StockX for that information. That's what's crazy. They're dating people.
I can't say that, but you can.
No comment. But I'm just saying, 100% they are.
I have a question. Can you please name that brand? So we'll go to the gentleman right here, and then we'll go.
Hi, my name is Chandler, and I'm also. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Sakiru Alagbada. I actually used to live in Austin. Now I moved to California. Opposite, I know. I'm a first-year MBA student at UC Berkeley. And as we know, like academia is doing a lot in terms of making sustainability, becoming a sustainability center of excellence. My program specifically is very, very sustainability focused, but I feel like a lot of times in the cases we deal with in class, in the kind of lectures we get, sustainability focuses a lot on just like the United States. I'd be curious to know what you guys are experiencing in terms of those in global markets. I think a lot of conversation around sustainability is a cultural thing. What are you seeing in other countries or on the global stage that you think could be best practices or lessons that could be applied to how sustainability is seen in the United States?
This is just, thank you. Don't have authentication centers outside the United States, but we're going through the B Corp assessment right now, going through for B Corp certification. And one thing we've learned in the process is that there's now more countries outside, more B Corp corporations outside of the United States than inside, even though it was started here. They kind of get it in Europe, obviously. And I think people are around even in Asia, it's starting to be more of a focus. I mean, again, this isn't something that I have a lot of experience with. I don't know if anybody, you've got distribution centers overseas as well, but I know that's a focus that I think there's countries that obviously glaringly are omitted and are not focused, but I feel like we're seeing more and more of an interest.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think one of the stats that stuck in my head is 70% of the users on StockX are under 35. And so we know sustainability is important for them, and that's a global number, right? So in the US, certain number of those consumers, it's really a focus, but for us, it's global. And so for us, our key markets are US, UK, Germany, and then Japan, Korea, Hong Kong. But our company is global, right? So the decisions that we make from a sustainability perspective will be relevant in every single market because the supply is global. You don't sell in Hong Kong and it only goes to Hong Kong. You sell in Hong Kong and it goes to Sydney or London or wherever you see it. So I think for us, it's going to be a global effort, and will continue to be. And I think because it's these younger consumers, they ultimately have very similar needs wherever they may be. Markets are nuanced in different areas, but for us, it really needs to be global.
Yeah, it's interesting at eBay because we are a global corporation, right? I mean, I think last year we did over $100 billion of sales top line, and that's global. We have offices and big presence across Europe, in UK, and Japan, and parts of Asia, and we are focused on a global focus to make things sustainable. We build authentication distribution centers both in UK as well as Germany, and we have a lot more over there in focused rollout that will be happening primarily for how could we build a larger pre-owned environment, and as a result, keep focusing on the sustainability angle globally, not just domestically.
Hi, my name is Chandler. I'm also an Austin native, but now in a new age of Gen Z, obviously everyone cares about sustainability, and so do you, and you want the resale business to grow. But there's also this partnering want of an experience of walking into the Dior store, having someone help you, picking out what you want, getting the box, unpackaging it. So what is your response to sort of building that same brand experience, or giving them all the information about the artist that made the bag or the collab or how many products were made? And do you want to build the brand, or do you want to build your own personal resale site?
Site or store? I can tell you about store.
Both.
And site, because when we think about the real and the omni-channel experience, what's important to us is to meet the customer where they are. And the customer that's shopping luxury wants a luxury experience, and also wants to be educated about the product that they're buying. When you think about the real and all the product that we sell, we're not singularly focused. Our resale specialists, our experts, everyone working our authentication centers, they're educated across a multitude of brands. And we share that information with our consigners and our buyers. On the site, you can read about the condition of our product. It'll tell you exactly about it. Because it's been authenticated, it's been assessed. It'll tell you about the collateral. It'll give you all the details, and it'll be shipped as such as well. Even in our store environment, it's the same. Walk in, spend time, make appointments, styling appointments. And also, if you don't want that, that's also okay. Because we do have customers that are like, you know what, I actually just want to be left alone, and I just want to go through the process, drop off and shop. And I think what we're learning in this resale environment through an omni-channel experience is meeting the customer and consignor where they are, offering a menu of services and letting that person dictate how they want to shop with your brands. And that, I think that creates the loyalty.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say too, just with the luxury world, at least one thing we realized from the very beginning, we only sell like 70 brands. We're ultra luxury resellers. That's all we deal with, accessories. And so people who buy what we sell and sell what we buy, they're obsessed with brands. They're obsessed with them. If you got a Chanel handbag, you also have a Gucci belt, you got Hermes shoes, Tiffany studs, ears, Stacks, Cartier, you love bracelets. You love brands. And so we've recognized from the beginning, if we can get them loyal, they love to be loyal to brands. If we can get them loyal to our brand, then they're going to tell their friends. They're going to come back. They're not shopping around. And so for literally until the Neiman Marcus deal in 2019, we were bootstrapped, had never raised a single dollar of investment money. And our marketing strategy, no marketing department. I posted every Instagram photo myself, which is a shame because our digital team is phenomenal and they should have been doing it. But anyway, our strategy was really like create an experience for these people. And they're gonna be loyal to us. And for us, what is that brand experience? Let's have them trust us that everything we sell is authentic, that we're giving a fair, fast, offer on their item. And we care about the experience you get when you open our boxes. We realize that 99.9% of the people who shop from us will never come into a store. So we've had unboxing videos and photos since before that was a word. We've been around for so long. And if you look at our hashtag, we don't tell people to share it. They share it because they can't help themselves because it's too fun, and that's just like free, thank you everyone. But, and so I think it's the little things. everybody's looking for material. Like we give people, we're called FASHIONPHILE. So for like 15 years, we've given people a nail file in their box. People share a photo of the mailbox, of the nail file. Like everybody's looking for material. If you give them any reason to share, they will share.
I actually think we're moving towards a world of like, it's not about just purchasing a product anymore, it's purchasing into a story, right? And I think what we're focusing on is, again, the stories behind the products, the sellers, and how the ownership of these products, especially in our focused vertical luxury categories. We've invested heavily or millions of dollars into now dedicated content partnerships with our sellers, coming up with a new series that we just launched recently called a Sellers Club, where we got a bunch of our sellers in a room to just talk about watches, and we have a lot more of those series coming. So we want to try to bring a lot of those behind the scene experiences through a digital lens to life to that consumer. And then in the out of the box experience, hopefully they get bought into that physical experience at the same time.
We'll take one last question, but because we have a panelist that needs to leave soon. So since you have the mic, go right ahead. And then, if you can catch anyone after, feel free. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to.
Hello. First, I want to thank the panel. You're amazing. Really appreciate your time tonight. My name is Hope. I am the fine jeweler and watch valuation manager for The Real here in Austin. I am a Miami transplant, and my question is about the condition that you receive the goods in. What do you do when you get a watch that has 20 years of arm cheese on it? Because we all know we get it. What do you do? Do you send it back to the consignor and say, please have this professionally cleaned? Do you clean it yourself? Because this is a situation I deal with on a daily basis. And it does affect the value. We know it does.
I feel understood by that comment.
Yeah. I've seen some interesting things come and go.
Yeah, and the reality is that's partially what for us, honestly, you go something nasty, we're just going to pay you less for it, and then we'll put a little work into it. But clean it up. Like I tell people, clean it up. Like honestly, take it to a shoe repair stuff. Get the soles redone, and you're going to get way more money for that item. And the types of things that we sell, people are more likely to take better care of and pay for professional repairs. But that's what we do, is we just offer them less money for it because that's nasty, and we're going to have to deal with it. That's on you.
In the store itself, we do offer repair services. So if we were to say exactly that, we could repair it for you. So we can send it to get it cleaned. We can send it to get repaired. There's additional cost, but then that cost could also be up the value of your item. And I think that's also another important service to offer.
Yeah, what I would also add is that there's a transparency component. So obviously the seller's going to get less money if the item's not that nice. But there are things that do pass the bar that you can sell online, but aren't perfect. And one of the things that we really prioritize is being very transparent about that, and making sure the buyer is very clear on what's the condition of the product they're buying. Because if you're not transparent up front, you're gonna lose that customer trust.
And same thing with the consignor on our end, because it could also lose a consignor trust if we're not as transparent with the pricing as well.
Absolutely.
For us, it's really like if you saw a Rolex watch as an example on a listing, you read the description, we want to make sure it's exactly what you saw. Not only about the authenticity, but if it said it had the box, the papers, if it had something damaged, but the buyer really, really wanted it, great. But if it's overly damaged, we're still going to reject it, right? And that's all part of our verification checks that we do physically before that buyer ever receives it. So yeah, I've seen some very interesting packaging, I'll say that much, come in from consumers. That's a side conversation for later.
I think for us, it's a little different because everything that sells on StockX is brand new. And so if somebody, that doesn't stop people from sending things in that aren't brand new. And they pay a fee for that because obviously to the sustainability conversation, they have to ship that in. We then have to have somebody spend time authenticating it, and then we have to ship it back. So particularly with things like sneakers, it has to be unworn, the lace has kind of been undone, etc. But you get sneakers that come in that have been worn, that smell of feet with folds in them and things like that, and someone will pay a fee for that reason.
Yeah, we actually do a sniff test where I actually went down to our sneaker facility in Vegas and we were doing sniff tests. I was like, I don't know if I can do that all day, but I am proud of the folks that do that, and that's amazing.
New sneakers smell lovely.
I mean, you can probably do a sniff test on handbags too. I mean, it's a talent.
We have such a great crowd here, so we're gonna squeeze in a few more. Tom, if you need to leave, I know you have a flight to catch. Feel free, but
It's terrible if I leave now. People are gonna think I'm so rude.
no. I don't want it to be transparent. Bye, everybody. So, do you have time for just? We have 5 minutes. Okay. All right.
Sure. Hi, my name is Dev. I'm a graduate student at the University of Michigan in a very similar business and sustainability program. And my question is, we know that suppliers and manufacturers, and specifically Southeast Asia and Central and South America, are very dependent on the profit that they get from production of for sale products and resources. And as we near this tipping point of resale becoming a predominant market share, do you have any visibility into how brands are either partnering with their suppliers and vendors to protect them or support them or ensure the social viability and livelihood? I mean, we saw the disaster that occurred with COVID-19 and a lot of our suppliers that we depend on.
We don't. The brands keep that at arm's length from us for sure. We definitely try. We have deep relationships with a significant number of brands, and it's something that we talk about in our kind of pillars of new suppliers, insight into how they work with their production partners, how they work with other partners and things like that. But there's other brands that I will not name that don't give us that kind of transparency. But the point you mentioned around supply chain and COVID-19 is one that was really real, I'm sure, for all of us, because while we don't have our own manufacturing and production because we don't make our own products, we have frontline workers who are in the authentication centers authenticating things all day, every day. And so for all of us, where that's relevant is something where we spend a lot of time ensuring that the standards and protocols are in the places that they should be. But yeah, there's well-documented media around what happens in some of those factories. And if that was something that we knew about with a partner of ours, it would be a focus to eradicate that.
I think it's TBD whether or not we say like buy less, buy better, whatever. But what we've kind of seen historically is like when people started having systematic, like safe, organized ways to sell their cars, it didn't mean that people just all started buying used cars and people drove less cars. No, now I have 4 kids. They all have cars because they're all used garbage cars. 15-year-old Volvo, $1,500 and it drives or whatever. But it's like, so I don't know for sure. I don't think we know yet because we would love to say that, that this is the future and that really the future is going to be in the growth of resale. And I think it absolutely will be. But will it be to the detriment to the primary market? I don't know. With more money in pockets, I see a lot of people shopping in the primary market in our world, and which is a little bit different. I'm not sure. I don't know everybody else's statistics, but only 13% of our sellers and buyers. There's only 13% of our seller and buyer crossover. We have a very, very small group of sellers who actually don't buy from us. They don't buy resale at all. They like to buy from Chanel and Louis Vuitton and the brands, and they don't shop resale. They just are cleaning their closet, making room because they shop seasonally. I mean, this is the kind of people that I didn't know existed. But, and so I don't know,
Okay, hi. I'm Catherine Lundstrom. I work for Adweek covering sustainability. This question is more for ThredUp and the Real. Kind of thinking about this sustainability aspect of fashion and the impact that the industry has on the climate. We can't really impact it unless we're making fewer clothes each year. And that's so much a question of how consumers are buying. And I mean, Sarah, you kind of mentioned this earlier. It's kind of the culture of buying. How much do you see it as a message from your brand to try to change that mindset and get folks to kind of buy fewer things and to try to attempt to change that whole culture of buying around clothing? Because I mean, we're not going to see these burning piles of clothing off the coast of Ghana.
I mean, ThredUp's resale report is legit. I mean,
Totally.
I think that is a huge badge that you guys have in that area.
Thank you. I didn't write it myself, but it is a great resource. I think at ThredUp, obviously we want to promote people buying used. We want to increase the number of times a garment gets worn. So much of the sustainability messaging out there is about, sustainable fabric and materials and things, which is, the birth of the product, but it's not really looking at the entire life cycle of the product, which is, really the end game. And so we want to encourage people to buy used. Obviously, I think we would love for people to also have fewer items in their closets and just generally, be living a more capsule wardrobe lifestyle. But I think, we're thinking about both of those things with the clean out kits and just the ability for people to clean out their closets and so forth.
From the real, when we think about extend the life cycle of luxury, it's our number one tagline. It's in all of our stores, it's on our website, and we talk about it all the time. And I think what's important about that is like what we offer on the site is primarily luxury brands and items, which are already small and buy anyway. But what we want to be able to do is get into closets and get it out of the closets because it's stranded. And we know that if we get it out into circulation, then that will it should start to reduce overall buying anyway. And I think that's what's important about getting more and more consumers comfortable with resale is that getting it out of the closet gets it into circulation. More people buy that. That extends longer. Then you don't have to buy new. And buying new becomes less important. But we've got to start getting stuff out of our closets. And our sales team does a fantastic job doing that. But the more that we do that, the more that stops the consumerism, I think.
We have some more. And we do know, I'm sorry, yeah, we probably have to call it. But again, if you have questions, please, unless it's like a quick, I'm so bad at saying I have no boundaries. All right. We're gonna give them a round of applause because they've been so wonderful. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you have a great rest of your day and your night, and thanks again.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
That last question for Twitter, by the way, I have to say, I am very aware of what you guys are doing right now.